Welcome to the 10th Basic Competency for Trainers Methodology Level 1, which is to maintain and enhance professional practice. So for the first topic, we should model high standards of performance. For introduction, values are the core of an organization's being. They help to distinguish an organization from others. They underpin policies, objectives, procedures, and strategies that they provide an anchor and a reference point for all things that happen. Value should be stated explicitly and unab- unambiguously, and be feasible so that they provide guidance and motivation for people's actions in all of the organization's activities. Implied values, on the other hand, are things that all organizations believe in, such as honesty, fairness, and integrity. However, while these are expected, they may be clearly documented or stated. This would be considered implicit. So what is first leadership? So for you to be able to model high standards of performance, you should be able to exude the leadership. Many people believe that leadership is simply being the first, biggest, and the most powerful. Leadership in organizations has a different and more meaningful definition. Very simply put, a leader is interpreted as someone who sets the direction in an initiative and influences people to follow that direction. So there are different leadership styles. The role of leadership in management is largely determined by the organizational culture of the said company. There are several different leadership styles that can be identified within which of the following management techniques. So first of that is the autocrat. So the autocratic leader dominates the team members, so using unilateralism to achieve a singular objective. This approach to leadership generally results in passive resistance from team members and requires continual pressure and direction from the leader in order to get things done. So basically, this is the mentality of a boss. So yung perception natin of a boss na should be always the masusunod, and as well as very objective about the leadership style. Number 2 naman are the laissez-faire manager. So they exercise little control over his group, leaving them to sort out their roles and tackle their work without participating in this process, him or herself. In general, this approach leaves the team floundering with little direction or motivation. This technique now is usually only appropriate when when leading a team is of highly motivated and skilled people who have produced excellent work in the past. Once a leader has established that his or her team is confident, capable, and motivated, it is often best to step back and let them go on about their tasks. So basically, this type of leadership celebrates the competence and capabilities of your teams. So that's why it is more of a laid back na type ng leadership or style ng leadership. Next is the democrat. So as the term itself, the democratic leader makes decisions by consulting his team. So demokrasya literally, while still maintaining control of the group. So meron daw siyang dalawang subcategories. First is a good democratic leader encourages participation and delegates wisely, but never loses sight of the fact that they bear crucial responsibility of leadership. On the other hand naman, the Democrat can be also seen as being so unsure of themselves and their relationship with subordinates that everything is a matter of group discussion and decision. So basically, this the democratic leader is parang like the system of the government for now, that we should be we should Every decision made is by means of popular vote or popular opinion, like how we make laws, and of course, how we do elections. So, there are steps on being or keys on being an effective leader. First is focus. In order to be a leader who people want to follow, you should ensure that you are aware of the results you want to achieve and where you want to go, of course. Number two is authenticity. People like to follow those people who are always themselves. You should be able to exude the most authentic as you can be. Be yourself and manage people in the way that you feel works best. Consider, for example, the way you want to be managed and manage those under you using the similar techniques. By being real, you can build the trust that people feel when working with you. Number three is courage. A leader needs to recognize when they are doing things right and needs to have the courage to admit their mistakes. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage to be able to to bring yourself down from a pedestal of leadership. And but that also um, signifies a true leadership for you to be able to admit the mistakes of your own and your negligence that may result to mistakes of your subordinates. Number four is empathy. Empathy is all about showing your understanding so you understand rather how others feel. Listening skills need to show that this empathy as listening skills need to show this empathy as much as you can. Appreciate what others are saying and use this knowledge to gain new ideas as well as build your relationships to be as strong as possible. For you to be able to become an effective leader is to to level yourselves then with them for you to be able to communicate properly then with your subordinates. Number five is the timing. An effective leader understands the timings between recent events and knows when and where not to make mistakes. They understand the manner which is needed to make decisions. They understand the speed at which to move and they know which decisions to make and when. So professionalism as a leader. Some major aspects of professional behavior are, of course, syempre, respect for others. A good leader respects those that work for him or her. They do this by first, syempre, always displaying good manners, being courteous, being on time, being discreet when needed, being fair, being honest, right? Keeping personal opinions to themselves, doing the work that needs to be done themselves, accepting feedback given, being sensitive, understanding that mistakes happen, and apologizing when appropriate. An effective leader din daw po gets all their team members working towards a common goal. Next is planning performance management. As a leader daw, you are going to need to undertake planning. Planning occurs whenever something needs to be put into action. In order to do this, you need to set performance standards and objectives for your teams to follow. Planning processes also mean putting effective means in place to measure the overall performance, trying to find ways in which you can be sure that your leadership on a given task is actually working and you are achieving what needs to be achieved. Next are writing performance standards. The first thing to do is to identify the purpose of the position. This is generally easy to do because it is stated separately or is included in the introduction to the position description. An excellent check to use in determining if the overall performance plan and related standards make sense is whether they reflect the purpose of the position itself. The purpose managers naman daw po, the purpose provides managers rather with objectively based information for making decisions. You need to identify the major duties of the position using the position description. Let's take an example first now of a position that has 4 key tasks. So those 4 key tasks now are studies the structure and or functions of the organization, provides program cost analysis, annual and multi-year fiscal planning, provides program support, assessment, and consultation services, as well as conduct management surveys and research projects. Note that duties 1 and 4 include conducting of study surveys and projects that require similar skill. Next topic is actually determining the personal development needs. In identifying your development needs can be challenging. Often, we find ourselves looking at what the training courses are available and deciding which of those would be most helpful. In fact, it is better to try and identify what the development need is and then work out ways of meeting that need, which may or may not be a training course. So there are 3 stages of identifying your personal development needs. First now is to identify what skills, knowledge, and behaviors are required for you to do your job well. This may be this may be of certain aspects that may give you a further identification of what skills, knowledge, and behaviors or attitude that you may want to have in order for you to progress in your career. May it be current technology advancements, current customer requirements, or the industry itself is shifting into another method. Number 2 daw is looking at the skills, knowledge, and behaviors you actually have now. So look at the list you have produced. Now ask yourself how effectively you match against each one. It is important to ask yourself rigorous questions at this age and answer honestly. And third is compare actual with required to identify the gaps. So these are your development needs. You should be able to identify what is the overall need of the said personal development. May it be on the career side as well. You should identify what is required in the workplace, what is your actual needs, and pagka na compare mo siya, may identify natin what are the gaps that you lack in order for you to become fully competent dun sa sa ano na yun, sa personal development or may it be career development as well. Next is participate in professional development activities. Development opportunities daw are suitable to personal learning styles are selected and used in accordance with continuous support of learning and maintenance to current professional practices. Professional networks are participated in accordance with continuous support of learning and maintenance of the current professional practices. Own performance and professional competency is continuously improved through the engagement in accordance with the professional development activities. So again, as mentioned earlier, there are different aspects that you may encounter in your performance or professional development process. So one of the vital aspects is technology. So technology is used to maintain regular communication in accordance with relevant networks, organizations, and individuals. There are different ways in which the technology has become an integral part of everyday work. So first is communication technologies. If we look upon how we do work siguro 50 years ago, it's very different on how we communicate now. And productivity wise, mas marami siyang ano no, since yung communication channels natin broadens, the more we in theory have more productivity. So next is again office productivity din. So maliban sa communication channels, the technology also encourages us to have more efficient ways on doing our work, especially electronics. Number 3 is record keeping and retrieval. Of course, mas madaling mag record keeping ngayon kung virtual na yung files. Mas madaling maghanap ng specific, like for example, laws, mga batas. Dati, kung tayo ay nag-aaral ng batas, babasahin natin yung buong libro. And pagka hinahanap natin yon, you should be able to either i-ear tabs mo siya o talagang hahanapin mo kung saang chapter siya. Now, through the use of internet and technology, we can actually search on what is the specific na content na ating kailangan out of the whole document. Next is internet and search. Of course, maliban sa record keeping, mas meron tayo access of the information through the use of search engines and as well as the whole internet. So it also decentralized work and cloud computing. So yung cloud computing po natin is basically what we do like for the Google Drives or Dropbox. So nawawala na yung part natin of the submission process as well as other traffic in communication as well as submissions. So since yun nga yung cloud computing nating tinatawag and decentralized work as well as yung pag-collaborate natin real time using the cloud computing, napakahalaga na po yun. Next are analytics and new decisions structures. So since information is basically free and is either figuratively or minsan literally on the palm of our hands through our cell phones, analytics and new decision structures on how to do things and how to make decisions and how to analyze stuff may be easier. Number 7, automation, robotics, and future factories. So this actually, automation especially, eases and gives efficiency of our manufacturing and production processes. The adoption of virtual and augmented reality. So this virtual and augmented reality basically simulates a reality within the confines of technology, which in return may it be for entertainment and also for educational purposes as well as production purposes. Number 9 is conversational systems like chatbots and assistants. Conversational rather. So as mentioned earlier, communication have so many channels and the problem now is not the communication channels but actually how to how to regulate and how to legislate said communication channels. And number 10 is information security. Next topic naman is how to reflect on and evaluate on your professional practice. Developments and trends impacting on professional practice are researched and integrated in accordance with their work performance. The fourth reasons why employee training and development is important, of course, is positive employee retention. So next is the training future leaders, of course, for the career and personal development as well of us individuals, employee empowerment, of course, and increased workplace engagement. So next is how to do personal feedback on your development. So feedback from colleagues, clients is used to identify and introduce improvements in accordance to work performance. So types of feedbacks may it be positive. So it will provide you with what you did well. Negative, it will provide you on how you did wrong naman, as well as constructive. It may have opinions whether what you did wrong can be done right. So next types naman is the informal or informal. The formal feedback is basically a direct feedback from parties involved, while informal feedback naman may be from a third party as well. Innovative and responsive approaches for improving professional practice are identified and used in accordance with continuous support to improve techniques and processes. So, napakabilis po ng progress ng technology, and it is our responsibility to be able to personally and career-wise develop ourselves in order for us to keep up with the said development. And lastly, records, reports, and recommendations for improvement are managed, of course, in accordance with the organization systems and processes.